What's up guys, you're watching JayzTwoCents, and hold on to your butts because today we're going to take a look at the Z87X-UD3H motherboard from Gigabyte. Now the UD stands for ultra durable, and that's exactly what you get here on this motherboard from Gigabyte. With its very heavy and robust heat sinks, its all digital CPU power design, and a dual BIOS keeping things nice and safe. And that's what they mean by Ultra Durable 5+. Has all the U's: ultra cool, ultra performance, ultra safe, and ultra USB 3+ with 10 USB 3.0 ports. That's a lot of ports for all your 3.0 devices. Now this motherboard is so feature packed. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the best features on this motherboard. It has durable black solid capacitors, has gold plated pins for your CPU. It has an Intel LAN with a high ESD protection. It's got digital IR power design for your CPU, UEFI BIOS. It's got DVI, HDMI, DisplayPort output for all your APUs, tons of USB, 4K support. It's got 6 fan connectors, and the list just goes on and on. But before we talk about the rest of those features, let's go ahead and just see what you get inside the box. When you open the box, you have the motherboard sitting here in this anti-static bag right on top. Look at the size of those heat sinks. You can just see that they're built with quality right off the bat. Underneath the motherboard tray, you will find a host of accessories that come with this motherboard. You've got your driver and software disk, you have your user's manual for everything you need to know about the motherboard, and if you don't speak English, you do have a multilingual installation guidebook here included with this motherboard. Of course, you have your I/O shield for the back of your case, and you have 4 SATA connectors here, 2 that have 90-degree plugs and 2 that have straight plugs. And of course you have your SLI bridge and your traditional Gigabyte case badge. Now we all know that this is the real reason why you're watching this video, is you want to take a look at some up-close glamour shots. Look at it in all of its glory. And the size of the heat sinks are just massive. This motherboard has a really awesome looking matte black finish to it, which is going to look good in any case color that you may choose. The blue PCBs used to kind of clash with some color combinations, and now with this black PCB, it fits in just about any design. Now when I unboxed this motherboard, I was a bit surprised at just how heavy it turned out to be. But that has to do with how heavy the heat sinks are on every single heat generating portion of this motherboard. The VRMs, the chipset, and everything on this motherboard that generates heat has its own heat sink, and it's very high quality and very durable. This motherboard takes all of the guesswork out on where all of those pesky plugs go, because everything is clearly labeled right on the motherboard. You don't even have to look it up in the manual to try and figure out where the various plugs go, because it's all right there labeled for you. Even the back of the motherboard shows the level of quality and detail that has gone into the design of this motherboard. All the solders are perfect, and the matte black PCB is just really kick-ass looking. As far as interfacing goes, you have a 4, 8, and 16x PCI Express lanes giving you SLI and Crossfire support in 2-way. You have 3x 1x PCI Express slots, and even an old school PCI slot in case you have an old peripheral that you're not ready to get rid of. You can still use it with this motherboard. When it comes to your rear I/O, you have a lot going on. 8-channel HD audio, your LAN, 8 USB 3.0 ports, 2 of which also are eSATA, and your PS2 ports. But if you're using onboard graphics, you're also hooked up with DVI, VGA, DisplayPort, and HDMI, and of course you have your digital optical output for your sound. Now there's an awful lot of features on this motherboard to try and cover in one video, but I've told you about the main features on this motherboard, so let's go ahead and hook it up, stress test it, and let's just see exactly what we're getting here as results with this Gigabyte Z87X-UD3H motherboard. Well, I think it's a really solid board, and Gigabyte is definitely known for having very durable boards. Of all the motherboards I've tested on the market, and over the years I've been buying motherboards for client builds for myself, Gigabyte has always gone above and beyond when it comes to give you the robustness that you would, I'm not sure that's a word, but it is today. The robustness that you would expect from a mid-range motherboard. I mean, this is a mid-range motherboard, but it gives you a lot of high-range, high-end features. The PCB just looks amazing, but the stability of the board is what I cared about most. And this video, from the time I started shooting it till now, is actually a week in the making. The system is running right over there, being fully stress tested right now in AIDA64. I've tested it in OCCT, I've tested it in Prime 95, and it is just beyond solid. In fact, I was able to get 4.6 gigahertz out of my 4670K with this board, where with the some of the other boards that I was using was getting about 4.4 stable. So I was able to increase the overclock by 200 megahertz stable. Now, when you do overclocking, there's a lot of things you have to worry about when it comes to stress on the board. You've got to worry about the VRMs being overheated. You've got to worry about the chipset being overheated, because there's a lot going on when you overclock rather than just pushing the socket and the CPU. Well, while fully testing this thing at full load for 2 hours prior to starting this video right now, the motherboard loaded at 33 degrees Celsius. That's load. Now, it's sitting idle at, in fact, what did my notes say? It sits idle at about 30 degrees Celsius. So you're talking only 3 degrees jump. And that's definitely got to have something to do with the ultra durable heatsink design on this when it comes to the VRMs and the chipset. Now, the VRM is one of the really important components when it comes to motherboard stability, when it comes to overclocking and getting nice clean power delivered to your CPU. And the DigiVRM, the digital VRM built into this, is outstanding. Now, when it comes to gaming performance, the motherboard isn't directly responsible for frames per second. However, it is indirectly responsible for frames per second. Now, what do I mean by that? The motherboard controls the CPU, or it backbones the CPU. So if you're able to get a stronger overclock out of it, which in this case I got an extra 200 megahertz, it did help in games like Battlefield 4, Skyrim, and let's see, Metro 33, games that were able to really push the envelope to the processor's limits. We're seeing an improvement by about 4 frames per second on average, because of the fact that we got a higher stable overclock out of this. Now, overclocking on this was a cinch. I mean, it really is easy to overclock nowadays when you have UEFI BIOS and such. But the UEFI BIOS on this board is a little bit different than some of the other boards that I've used, and I've used a lot of UEFI BIOS, so it takes some getting used to, but you know, there's a little bit of a learning curve in there, the way the menus are laid out. But once you get used to it, it's no different than any other UEFI BIOS. You just have a nice visual display of all of the settings, and it's easy to tweak. In fact, whenever I did have a BIOS failure, or I should say an overclock failure because of my BIOS settings, the motherboard automatically detected that and reverted its settings and brought me back to the settings and let me fix it based on a predetermined number of failed attempted boots. So it does make it very overclocker friendly, which leads me back to what I said in the beginning though, where if it had a clear CMOS button on the back, it would be a lot easier to reset those settings if you had to go that route because of a failed overclock. I do really like the overall feature set on this motherboard, and at the time of filming, this board is coming in at about $159, which makes this thing an absolute contender if you're looking at building a gaming rig that is either for a 4770 or a 4670K, and you want something that's beefy, and you know it's going to last a long time, and you know that it's going to give you the durability that you're looking for. I mean, they call it ultra durable for a reason, and I have to just say that for the last week, I have been stressing the hell out of this system. I mean, it has been, anytime I've been working over here, I've had AIDA64 running or Prime 95. In fact, this motherboard has spent pretty much from the moment I installed it, either gaming or being stress tested, just trying to make it break, because the last thing I want to do is say it's a great product if it was out there failing. And for me, this thing just absolutely lives up to my standards. So if you're looking for a motherboard that has just got all of the features that you want to have expandability, SLI or Crossfire, and you're running a new Ivy Bridge, a new Haswell system, and you want something that is just going to last you years and years, just like my Gigabyte DS3 hanging on the wall over there. That's that motherboard that I've had hanging on the wall. Some people have wondered what that is. That is a Gigabyte DS3, and it was an LGA 775 board, and it's hanging on the wall because of sentimental value. It was the best overclocking motherboard I've ever experienced, getting an 80% overclock out of my old E6300 1.86 gigahertz Core 2 Duo that spent its entire life overclocked to 3.42, and it still works. If I had some DDR2 RAM, I would hook it up to show you. When it comes to durability, Gigabyte is a brand that you can trust. And so this is a motherboard that I'm using day to day now, and I'm confident in saying that if you're building a computer and you're looking for a nice mid-range board that would fit all of your needs, overclocking and gaming and expandability, definitely check out the Z87X-UD3H. It's definitely a good buy. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's giving you some information regarding motherboards and some of the features on this particular motherboard. If there's something you want to know and maybe I didn't cover it in this video, ask down in the comments and I'll do the best I can to answer your comments. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, you know what to do with it. Follow me on the social media stuff. I love interacting with you guys and talking with you guys because it keeps my channel fun and entertaining. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Go and check it out.